Hi, welcome to Escapees webinars. As you guys may know, my name is Georgianne, and I'm the marketing director for Escapees RV Club. Today, I have a friend with me. This is Jim Koca. He's actually a friend and a coworker. He works with our safety and education department. He's actually the director of our safety and education, correct?
That is correct, ma'am. Yeah.
So as the director, Jim manages our RVers Boot Camp, our RVers Online University, our SmartWeigh program, and helps out in so many other ways. Do you want to tell everybody a little bit about what you do?
It's all other duties as assigned, and
Yes.
I have a tag that says that. That's really what happens. But no, like Georgianne says, education director over RVOU, SmartWeigh, Boot Camp, and anything that comes down the pike.
Pretty much, yep.
Yep, that's it.
Got a really long history with things like accident reconstruction and that sort of thing with road safety and RV safety and that sort of thing. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
I can. I'm 41 years of law enforcement experience, and I still am a card-carrying police officer. I'm still a reserve officer out in Reagan County, which is West Texas. I go out there. I'm an accident reconstructionist by trade. We pick up the pieces and make sure what happened, whether it be commercial vehicles, recreational vehicles, buses. I also teach for the federal government. I teach for the Transportation Safety Institute, which is the Department of Transportation. I teach bus collision investigation for them throughout the United States. I teach across the state of Texas accident investigation classes. And it's one of those things for escapees. I teach personal safety. I teach tire and weight safety for them. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy teaching.
We definitely enjoy having you. I actually got to go to my first boot camp last November, which our boot camp's coming up again in just a couple of weeks, but it was incredibly useful. And even though I don't currently own an RV, I'm definitely shopping and in the market for one, but I learned so much really useful information just about even taking care of my car better.
Yeah, one thing that I was drugged to boot camp, to be honest with you. I was drugged. Literally. Lisa, my wife, says, we're going to go to boot camp. And I said, no, I know everything I need to know about my RV. Typical male, right? And so she said, no, we're going. So you could probably hear my fingernails dragging on Highway 190 coming over to Livingston. But I learned so much. It helped in my accident reconstruction career, but also for the safety of the RV itself.
Yeah.
And it's just really phenomenal. So we went to it, enjoyed it, and then I was actually invited to start teaching in it. And the sky's the limit now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a firm believer of it because it's one of those things, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And you really don't.
Yeah.
So it's really a good program. So y'all come join us. It's fun.
Yes.
We're going to have one up in Dallas, Texas, Grand Prairie, Texas in March. So if you can y'all come to that. You'll have a good time and learn a lot too.
Awesome.
And meet me.
Yes, of course. Meet him in person.
That's it.
So in case you guys haven't noticed, we are doing things a little bit differently this time. Jim happened to be in town this weekend, so we made a point to make this happen now so that we could both be here at the same time, and let's get started.
Sounds good to me.
Yes. So we talked about your accident reconstruction already, your experience with that. Given the number of things that you've seen, and you said 40 years of doing that, right?
41.
Yeah.
Working on 42.
That's a long time. So given all of that, do you have any things that you saw consistently that maybe acted differently? They could have simply prevented that accident instead of having the catastrophic type of things that bring you in.
Bring my life together. A lot of it is people need to slow down. We get so much in a hurry that we end up losing it and having wrecks. Slowing down is the biggest thing that people can do, because if you go too fast, you end up tearing your car up prematurely. And that's what we see a lot of times. Another thing is people don't do maintenance.
Yeah.
They really have to pull maintenance on their vehicles, and especially RVs are really, really demanding on that. It all ties in together when we're talking about being safe on the road, because we want you to get to where you want to go to work on your bucket list.
Yes.
Everybody needs a bucket list, and I'm working on my bucket list. Lisa has a bucket list. I have a bucket list. Mm-hmm. They're not the same.
You just came back from one of my bucket lists, the Balloon Fiesta.
Balloon Fiesta. We just got back from the Balloon Fiesta. Yes. Fabulous out there. It was great. Mm-hmm. But anyway, getting back to safety is really slowing down and doing maintenance. We forget sometimes that these tires need to have air in them. And if you're underinflated by 5-10 pounds of pressure, your tire will heat up and degrade, causing a blowout at the most inopportune time that you don't want, when you have to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Or you would like to be somewhere, really. And it's kind of hard to be sitting on the side of the road waiting for the tow truck or a tire repairman to show up, because you have to remember, a lot of your RVs now, your big Class A's don't come with spare tires.
Yeah, there's no room.
We just bought a Class C, didn't come with a spare tire, and it's like, really? And so, you know, and we're seeing a lot of the newer cars, talking to some of the manufacturers, you know, we used to get the little donuts. Now they're not even putting them in.
I'm glad I have one.
Yes, and they're not putting them in. So, you know, that's something to think about, having good roadside service too. And we've used that also, because we've been broke down too. That's not a good idea.
Getting back to slowing down, do you have any advice for things like that? You're slowing down. Does that mean going the speed limit and not exceeding it? Does that mean going under the speed limit? Is there a recommended speed per size of vehicle when it comes to RVs?
Thank you for that lead in. A lot of people don't realize that tires have a speed limit.
Yes, I learned that in boot camp.
Yes, we talk about that in boot camp. They do have a speed limit. And for a lot of your big Class A's with the 22.5-inch tires, it's like 70, 75 miles an hour. But why do you want to go that fast? 65 is good. Plus, you get better gas mileage too, because on a big Class A, you're getting 6 to 8 miles per gallon. If you slow down a little bit, you'll get a little bit better gas mileage. But for your fifth wheels, your travel trailers, speed limit's up there at 65. You know, if you hit 66, the tire's not going to explode. It's not going to go.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, which it is. It's not going to explode. But the faster you go on these tires, they're not designed to do that. They'll build up heat. Heat is damaging to tires. And that's what I'm saying. If you have low tire pressure, you're going to build up heat, destroy your tires. You go over the speed limit, you're still building up heat. You're going to start destroying your tires. But it's not automatic. It's cumulative over time. It's over time. And so, you know, by going slow, and also if you do go slow and there is a blowout, you have a better chance of being able to stabilize.
Yes.
You know, because one of the films that we show in there was from Michelin, that a lot of people, when they have a blowout, the first thing they want to do is hit the brake. But that's not what you want to do. It's counterintuitive. If you have a blowout, you want to accelerate. Now, you're not going to go from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, not on these rigs. But what you're going to do is you're going to be able to maintain control of that forward momentum to be able to slow down to get off the side of the road and not be jerked off the side of the road. And that's one of the films that we show in the boot camp also. So really slowing down and taking care of your tires, because what carries your weight on an RV, well, any vehicle you have, whether it be motorcycle, ATV, Jeep, Class A, truck, is the air pressure in the tires. That's why you see an 18-wheeler has 18 wheels, and he's got, you know, 120 pounds of PSI in there, but he's carrying 80,000 pounds. You couldn't put 80,000 pounds on your car.
No.
It would go literally.
It would look like one of those little pancake cars at the junkyard.
Exactly. But a lot of times, if you ever see heavy equipment being hauled, 36, 56 wheels, because they need that air pressure to be able to hold up that weight. And so when we start getting into Class C or Class A motorhomes, you got 6 wheels, or you have the tag axle, which is that extra axle behind. And really what it's there for is for the extra weight, to be able to carry more stuff. We love our stuff.
Yes. Well, the tire damage is cumulative. I can hit a pothole today, and it may be what causes my tire to blow out 6 weeks, 6 months from now, because the belt damage that was done or that sort of thing to that tire continues to break down over time because the damage has been done.
But what we like to do as humans, we like to blame. If I hit a pothole, I want my tire to blow out right then, so I can blame somebody.
Exactly.
But it doesn't happen that way. And it's just like you're traveling down the interstate. You have that nice smooth asphalt, and you come up where that bridge is. It goes ka-thunk.
Yeah.
There's a chance that there you may have a belt get damaged there also. So there's like I say, all this tire damage is cumulative.
Yeah.
And so this is one thing that you have to worry about. Now, one of the best things you can do for your tires and for yourself, a Christmas present, is to buy a tire pressure monitoring system, a TPMS.
Yes.
You know, is the best thing for RVers, because For me, as I get older, I don't like to bend over. I don't like to get on my knees in order to check the tires.
Mm-hmm.
With my TPMS, I can do that. Plus, it will alert me if I have a low tire pressure, too much heat on the tire. Okay.
I didn't realize that.
Oh yes. And another good thing that they have also is a thermal gun.
It's the like laser thermometer. Yeah.
Little infrared thermal gun, because what you can do is.
I like my name. Laser thermometer sounds much cooler.
Oh, no, there you go. I want to do the proper term. But the thermal gun, what it does, it will, you keep checking your tires. What you're looking for is that gradual increase or that spike of temperature to let you know maybe you have a wheel bearing going out, or some other, maybe a low tire pressure that hasn't hit the magic number to let you know that that it's time to put more air in it, for the alarm to go off. But those two things right there are, to me, are great Christmas tools, birthday presents, a gift to yourself in order to make your life simpler as you're going down the road. And TPMS is really getting cheaper.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Through the years, they're getting cheaper. When they first came out, they're expensive. But again, it's the best tool for us as RVers to have. Whether you have a fifth wheel, travel trailer, motorhome pulling a car. Because if you're pulling the car, how do you know you have a flat tire in the back?
And so talking about those, I know, so I'm not as good under the hood and that sort of thing with my car. So I have my mechanic take care of that stuff for me if I see that a sensor's messed up or I get a little warning that it's not working. How easy is it for an RVer to self-install that sort of thing, or should you take your RV to someone and have them do it?
Oh no, they're very easily to install yourself. The system that I have, you can actually go on their website and they have videos to show you how to set them up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but if you come to Escapade and you buy one there, you can probably get them to go install them for free. Nice. Because they have done that before too. We'll talk to the people that sell them, and they'll say, we really not feel good. I'll go set them up for you, because they want to make the sale.
Yeah.
But
it's a good product too.
It really is. It really is. It really is. I was, a tire pressure monitoring system came about because a lot of times through the years, I did a lot of investigation on a particular brand of vehicle that was having tire blowouts. And we would actually go on the interstate and pick these vehicles up, store them for the lawyers in order to determine what happened. And and that's how TPMS came about, was because low tire pressure on the rear tires made the vehicles not go good, and they end up rolling. So
interesting.
It really is. It really is.
Well, it looks like, just some feedback real quick. So it's not just him and I that are happy about TPMS systems.
Oh, good.
But looks like Mike was talking about that he's actually learned how his tires handle different kinds of weather conditions and road conditions by having his system and watching the readings coming off of it. And then John said that he's actually had it save him twice now, being able to see a problem coming before it happened so that he could take care of the situation before it resulted in a potentially catastrophic accident. So.
And see, that's called proactive.
Yes.
There's proactive and reactive. And so many times we're reacting.
Mm-hmm.
Something happens and we have to fix it. But by having the TPMS, as the gentleman said, it alerted him to problems before you have to spend $600 on a tire.
Mm-hmm.
That's very simple. But the question we always get in boot camp, I'm gonna jump to this if you don't mind.
No, go for it.
Even if you did mind, I was gonna do it anyway. If you have a tire, you get a nail in the tire. The best procedure to have that fixed is replacement. If you can't replace it, then the plug and the patch is the best. But the reason why you want to replace it is because once you have that nail go through, it's went through the cords. And now if you ever watch anybody get ready to patch a tire, they find the nail, pull it out, or the hole, then they get this rasp, a reamer, and they'll sit there and go, and they make the hole bigger, clean it out, so to speak, and they'll put the plug in and put a patch. But what happens now, as that tire is going down the road, it's flexing all the time. You go through water, what happens? Water gets into those steel belts. What happens? Water and steel don't like each other, so it starts rusting. And so later on, what happens? Belts break, you have a blowout later on that is going back to where the original problem was the hole in the tire. It's expensive, but again, what is safety worth?
Yeah.
Your life. We can replace property, as we found out in the hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to replace the life.
Yeah.
And so this is why we, as the boot camp instructors, we strongly suggest that you replace the tire instead of plugging it. Now, plugging a patch is good to get you down the road, but once you do that, consider, getting the new tire.
Yeah, and something, believe me, like a lot of us are aware that that's a pretty serious concern, and one of the reasons why Escapees finally was able to negotiate a discount for our members with Goodyear, and Goodyear offers our members a discount. I don't think it's a limit on how many tires. I think you can go. It can be one or it can be four, however many you may need, so that you can actually save some money in replacing your tires, because we know RVers put a lot of miles on their vehicles, and that results in a lot of tire wear. And so with this partnership with Goodyear, with this cooperation we've got going with them, they offer our members a discount on replacing their tires. And you have to do a little bit of scheduling. So like you said, an immediate plug is the good idea. As far if you can't replace it immediately, plug it, but then you can schedule something like that to get the new tires on there.
One thing that you always want to do is always buy 2 tires.
Yep, and I see that question right here.
2 tires. We always buy 2 tires. And the reason is especially if you have a dually, because what you want to do is match the height up. Because if you have one that is high, a new one and an old tire, you're going to have that new tire carrying all the weight. And that's not good. And I've worked several accidents that way, where you look at the trailer, you look at the RV, dual tires, and one tire not even touching the ground. You have that one tire carrying all that weight. And what you're doing is you're overloading it.
Yeah.
And you're going to have the blowout. The heat will build
on
up.
Your brand new tire.
Yeah, on your brand new tire, literally. And then you'll have the old tire to carry the weight then too. But again, you need to make sure that you always buy 2 tires at the same time. Yep. It's better to replace all 6 at the same time if you got about $4,000, but it depends on that. The other thing I want to add on to that too is when we park our RVs, and you have to understand, we travel, we sit. We set. Then we travel some more, then we sit. Travel, set. Well, your 18-wheelers are doing that. They're going down the road. They're moving. The tires want to take you places. Tires want to go. They don't like to sit. They want to go have fun. They want to go see the country. But when we sit, what happens is, especially when we're on concrete or asphalt, the chemicals will start leaching out of the tires into the asphalt or the concrete. If you go to a car dealership, go to the showroom, they'll have little plastic pads underneath the tires.
Yes, I've
Why
noticed
do
that.
they have that? Because those tires sit on that concrete and it starts leaching out the chemicals. And you'll actually see the tire print on the concrete.
I always assumed that those pads were for the sake of aesthetics, just to keep that print from happening, not even thinking about the chemical reaction that was causing the print.
It happens mostly with concrete and asphalt. Now, when you're parking on grass, gravel, don't have to worry about that. And what we always carry is the plastic placemats, the little tiny things like kids have. The reason why we do that is because they're lightweight. We have to worry about weight. And they fold up, you just slip them somewhere. And if we're parked for a long time, we slip them under the tires. If they get damaged, who cares? But again, just that little piece of plastic is protecting the tire so it doesn't leach out some of that chemicals.
That's good. That was good to know.
That's a freebie.
Yes. And actually, we have a question since it's on the same topic, I don't want to get too far away from it. David has asked, he says trailer tires typically are not balanced. What's the reason for that?
You're not back there. You have to understand about balancing. It's more for aesthetics. It's more for, you don't have the vibration of the steering wheels going down the road. So trailer tires are typically done that way. With our 5th wheel, we bought 16-inch tires. They had the option of buying 17.5-inch tires. I wish I would have done it with the 17.5s because we had 6 blowouts before we realized that we needed the bigger tires. I learned from my mistakes. But when I bought the 17.5-inch tires, they came with the balancing beads in it that automatically balances the tires as you're going down the road. That way you don't have to worry about wheel weights.
Yeah.
Another thing that I did for our Class A motor home is I have what are called wheel balancers on the front and the back, where I don't have to have wheel weights. All right. But as you're going down the road, it automatically balances the tires as you're going down. So if you get rocks in your tread, automatically rebalances it. When the
That's
rocks
nice.
when the rocks leave, it rebalances itself. And what's so good about it is these wheel balancers will smooth out the steering wheel because you don't have the vibration, increases your tire life,
Yeah,
your
that
tread
makes
life.
sense.
Before I put the balancers on, my 22.5-inch tires were starting to wear on the outside, feather. So I put new tires on, put the wheel balancers on there, and guess what? Smooth as silk. Took a little bit of the steering out, the bounce of the steering wheel, and now it is smooth sailing, and the tires are wearing perfectly.
That's awesome.
It really, and you don't have to worry about wheel weights because wheel weights come off. You hit a chug hole, boom, there goes the wheel balancer. There goes the lead weight.
Earlier, Pat asked, what is the best tire pressure for a Class A? It looks like they have 22.5-inch tires. So the manufacturer recommended is one thing, or the tire manufacturer recommendation is a different one. Is there some kind of compromise? Or is there one you should take over the other?
You're going to love this. This is another dirty plug for escapees. The best tire pressure is for whatever weight your RV's carrying. Okay, SmartWeigh. In all honesty, you need to get the tires. You need to come across the scales. Then what you can do is, once we know what the heaviest tire is for that axle, let's say you have 4,000 pounds on the left front, 3,500 on the right front, then you can go to the tire manufacturer's inflation charts, and you may need 80 pounds of pressure across the front. You go to the heaviest tire, and you'll do the same thing for the duals in the rear. So you may have 80 or 90 pounds in the front and maybe 120 in the rear.
Nice.
It just depends upon what weight is carrying on that axle, on those tires. Now for my Class A, because my load varies from place to place I go, because working for escapees, we just did the Dallas RV show, so we had to take a bunch of magazines. So my load changes from place to place where I go. And so what I typically carry in my tires is 110 pounds PSI in my Class A. That way I don't have to change it. It's underinflation to a tire is the worst thing you can do. Overinflation is bad, but not as bad, not as critical.
And so it sounds like, if I'm taking what you've already said correctly and using a little of my own common sense, so it sounds like if you're going to be in a higher elevation for a longer period of time, you do want to increase your PSI so that your tires don't end up underinflated.
Yeah.
What if you do the opposite and you're going from a higher elevation to a lower elevation, and you're going to stay maybe a week or two or something, maybe not a lengthy period of time, but a longer visit at least?
What you're going to do is you're going to readjust your tire pressure whenever you get down here and get the tires settled.
Okay.
And again, we never check our tire pressures when they're hot. Always check them cold.
I know that much. My dad taught me that, not boot camp.
Oh, can't believe that.
What types of abnormalities on a tire should you look for that would indicate you need to do further investigation or potentially replace the tire and that sort of thing?
Well, a lot of times for us being RVers, we age out our tires before we wear them out.
Yes, I've heard that.
In all honesty, truckers, they wear their tires out, and they'll literally.
They carry 6 pairs at a time for a reason.
Yeah, they really do. But we age out our tires before we wear them out, and you'll cry because at 5 years you need to start really looking at your tires. I'll talk a little bit more of that in a minute. And at 7 years you need to replace them. Now, some manufacturers saying with proper care you can go to 10 years.
Is that on an RV or is that on a
no,
general?
That's on an RV. They're saying for their tires you can go 10 years. To me, that's pushing it, but I'm not the manufacturer, the engineer. I like the 5 to 7 year rule because it's been around for a long time and it really proves pretty good. Again, when you get to that 5 years, you need to make friends with a good tire company so that you can get a good deal on the tires. When we had to replace our Class A tires, I bought 2 in the front and I bought 4 in the rear. And you spend a chunk of money, you really do. And that's why, again, I like the wheel balancers because it prevents a lot of that cupping, irregular tread wear that you get as you're going down the road.
But what do you mean by cupping? I don't know what that is.
A lot of times, if the tire is fluttering like that, it will start cupping from side to side. It'll start wearing out.
Okay,
It'll start wearing out. And again, it gives you that vibration in the steering wheel.
Okay.
And so again, that's why a dirty plug for wheel balancers again, but that's why I like wheel balancers because it takes that out and it gives you a lot smoother ride.
Nice.
It really does. I can't say enough about those.
Tire pressure monitoring systems. They help you keep an eye on your tires when you can't physically be watching them.
Exactly. It's hard to run behind the RV and look at your tires.
So tire pressure monitoring systems, what other types of tools would you suggest for people to do things like, for example, having a backup camera? You can see what's going on especially if you're towing, you can see what's going on in the vehicle behind you, even if it's not tire related. Maybe it's something has hit it and your windshield's damaged, or there's something else weird happening that could be a problem. Maybe something's just stuck under your vehicle and you're pulling it, not realizing you're pulling a piece of trash from the road or whatever. What kinds of things like that would you recommend?
Well, the backup camera is essential. A lot of times when you buy a Class A or Class C, something that's going to tow something, you're going to get the backup camera automatically. Nice. Hopefully you will. I like the backup camera, mainly because it lets us know if there is a problem with the tow bar. Let us know if there's a problem with the base plate. And that's the thing. I go back to this idea of maintenance. And maintenance is very, very dear to, as RVers, we have to do that. And it's either you learn how to do it yourself or you pay somebody to do it. Mm-hmm. That's why I like to be able to do it myself. And there may become to the point in time where I don't want to do it because I don't like falling on the roofs anymore. But things rattle and roll, shake, come apart as you're going down the road. And so a lot of times when I had the fifth wheel, I would carry that little square screwdriver. And I would get out and put the screws back in that shook out.
Smart.
And then a lot of times get putty and put in there also so they wouldn't Loctite or something so they wouldn't come out also as easy. Mm-hmm. But that's one thing that we have to do is make sure that you check, if you are towing, is check your base plate. Make sure that all the connections are good, all the bolts are tight. That's one good thing about the backup camera, because you can say if you got a problem, a little shimmy or wiggle, then a lot of times we go over railroad tracks, we like to know if the car's still there.
That's a good point.
It really is. The other thing I like too is also a front camera, having a front camera up there. That way you
like a dash cam?
The dash cam, exactly. But with the dash cam, one, you can record your trips.
Yeah.
But also it's good evidence, because police use dash cams as evidence. We do too.
That makes
as RVers.
Sense.
That way, if you have somebody pull out in front of you, mm-hmm. Hey, you hit them. Hey, the guy pulled out in front of me. That's it.
Yep.
It's just we have to take care of ourselves.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
But I go back to this idea of maintenance. It really is checking your tires, checking everything. Yes. So your question? Yes, ma'am. You have a question?
I have a question. So you're talking about check everything else. What is, if you don't mind sharing, what is your pre-flight checklist?
There are checklists that are available on the internet. If you go to the boot camp website, there are checklists for when you get there, when you leave, and also it's one of those things that you start getting into a routine, a habit. If people come up and talk to you, you get out of your habit.
Yes.
And so a lot of times before we get ready to leave, and Lisa does 90% of the driving, in all honesty. I don't know how I got her to do that, but she does about 90% of the driving.
And she loves it.
I don't care.
She loves it.
It works for me. It works for me. But as she's doing her job inside, I'm doing the outside stuff. And I walk around everything before I leave. For you guys that have fifth wheels or tow car, or fifth wheels or travel trailers, you always have to check what are called your shackles. Not shingles, but shackles. Okay. Shackles are they're about 4 to 6 inches long, 2 holes with a bolt. There's two on the side with a bolt going through there that hold the spring to the crossbar, or the spring to the frame. As you're going down the road, those things are going up and down, and they can elongate and wear out. And the reason why I found out about it is we pulled in here to Livingston at the Escapees RV Park, and the rear axle was just flopping. And what happened, the shackles broke, and luckily didn't hurt anything. Mm-hmm. And when I called to get the replacement shackle, they said, let me send you the kit. And I said, kit? These things break all the time? Yeah, they do. So you always have to, I always check for them. Have had on the fifth wheel, we had to have it replaced twice because of all the up and down movement. And we always have to check the shackles, and you always want to get the ones that have the grease zerts in it so that you can keep them lubed up. Mm-hmm. Because, dry, metal on metal will dry out, will break.
Yeah.
So this is why, get the ones that have that. There are some companies that make a heavier shackle. You get the thicker shackles, they'll last you a whole lot longer. They really do. And that's something we found out that I didn't even think about until it broke one day. And then we were in Van Horn, and it broke again about 2 years later. elongated, and it was fixing to break. So I called a welder. He said, come out, look at it. He says, I make them all the time, because out there,
man.
they get broken because of the road, the interstate, and he makes his own and sells them, replaces them. It's great.
Man.
But it's maintenance, and it's really looking after that. But a lot of times on our boot camp website, there's a checklist also. And plus, I also do a maintenance checklist once a month. I have a checklist that I go through. I run the generator once a month. I replace the air conditioning filters. You think about this. You're in your house. You're supposed to replace the air filters once a month.
Yep.
How many of y'all do that?
I actually do, but I get a subscription service that ships it to my house. So I
there
remember
you
to
go.
do it.
But that's something that we have to do for RVs. Is we need to clean our filters, air filters.
Makes sense.
Okay. I check the batteries. I fill the batteries full of water. I check the hydraulic fluid. I have a whole checklist of things that I do every month, every 30 days, every 60 days, because there's different stuff. Like on the roof, it's twice a year. But there's some stuff that you have to do. And again, checklists are out there. The owner's manual, they should have a checklist in there. This is stuff that you have to do. And again, it's up to you, because if you don't do it, it's either pay me now or pay me later, literally. Any other questions?
So there's a couple of questions that came in about tires, but since we're already talking about shackles, there are a couple of questions that came in about that. So let's see, Bert asks, are the MoreRide shackles heavy duty? Oh, he says actually that the MoreRide shackles are heavy duty and great. So that's
they are. Yeah, you're right. MoreRide. It's called CRS. I couldn't remember who the manufacturer was. Okay, but you're right. MoreRide makes the heavier shackle. I think Mark Nemeth actually did an article on that too one time. Like that. But you're right. MoreRide is the right one. So thank you for that. Kudos.
And so another question about these, looks like it came from Michael. Are the shackles a part of the fifth wheel hitch, or are they a part of the tow vehicle suspension or frames? Like where would an RVer find their shackles? Okay,
the shackles are going to be around the tires, around the axles.
Okay.
Be around the axles. Where you have your springs coming out this way, they're going to be at the end of the springs is where they're going to be at.
Okay.
That's a good question too. Yeah.
So David actually had another good question. Auto balancers, are they more for a Class A? Do you need them on a trailer? Is it something you could do for either?
If you like to spend money, we can buy all sorts of gadgets. I have them on my Class A. Okay, this is word of truth. I have two RVs. I'm sorry. I have a Class A and a Class C. The Class A is our big rig that we live in. The Class C is for our small trips. It's going to be for our Alaska trips. I have them on the Class A. I'm going to get them on the Class C. I just haven't bit the bullet and put them on there. But all you do is just take the wheel and the rim off, set them on there, and then put it back on. And they can go from vehicle to vehicle. And it just gives you a little bit of, I like to have a nice smooth ride. I don't like to be jiggling around a lot. That's why I like to have them on that. And again, you can get them for F450s, F350s, F150s, motorcycles, any vehicle, you can put these on. It replaces the lead weight. So you don't have to, they said, get your tires rebalanced every 10,000, 15, 20,000, whatever like that. With the tire balancers, you don't have to, not a bit. The problems with the beads is if you have a flat tire, the beads go everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like just like gutting a Beanie Baby.
Yeah, everything goes everywhere. Exactly.
Sorry if you love Beanie Babies.
But I've had both, and I prefer the outside wheel balancers that mount on the rim itself or on the hub, really. But again, if you want to know any more information on that, if you'll go to the www.bootcamp.com and send me an email, or bootcamp@escapees.com.
Yeah, don't listen to him. I'll give you the right website.
Yeah, it's CRS again. But you go to bootcamp@escapees.com. I monitor that, and I'll be able to answer you any questions you want. Just give me a couple of days, because I travel a lot, and internet is kind of scarce sometimes where I go.
Also, we're talking about the wheel balancers before we get off that topic. So Bert has asked if you can recommend the brand name of the wheel balancing system.
Can I do that?
You can.
Centromatic, just like it sounds. CENTRAMATIC. Centromatic. They're made out of Alvarado, Texas.
Nice.
Texas product. Yes, homegrown. And they will sell to the public too. You can go to centromatic.com, and what you do is you buy them and you can put them on yourself. And what I did is when I had new tires put on the RV is when I had them put on. Sometimes if you go to RV shows, like Escapade, they'll be selling them there, and they'll put them on. The first ones I put on the front ones first, and about $125 a pair.
Hmm.
And you need one pair for the front, one pair for the rear. And but they're called Centromatics, and I paid $125 plus tax and free installation.
Nice.
But consider that.
Okay, well, it looks like John actually has a question. So David was asking earlier about the rubber torque ones, and unfortunately we couldn't answer in very much detail. But John has some feedback in case anyone else is having the same question, that the rubber on the axles don't need a whole lot of maintenance, just to make sure you grease the shackle bolts if they have Zerk fittings.
Yeah, and that's the key.
You do know that, okay?
Yes, yeah. And I always carried me a little grease gun in my toolbox of thumb. That way I could take care of some of the maintenance myself. So like I say, about 70 to 80% of the maintenance on an RV you can do yourself, literally. And there's also classes you can take out there too. And I'm taking maintenance classes through Pennsylvania, online courses to learn how to work on the RVs.
That's awesome.
It is, because I'd rather keep the money and go have fun.
Yes.
And buy more stuff.
Yes, use that for more adventures.
Exactly.
And plus you keep your RV longer, getting to go on more adventures instead of sending it off to the shop somewhere.
That's true. But there's some point in your life where you don't want to do anything, or something you don't want to do, where you don't have enough time because we just
on the go.
That's true too. Like I said, we just got our big rig out of the shop, so.
Oh, that's another headache.
Yeah, that's another headache.
We won't go into that.
Any other questions?
Yes. So Charles has a question from earlier. What kind of maintenance do you do for axle bearings?
That's one of the things that I really don't do myself. But you have to understand, like on boat trailers, that you're putting them in the water, you're going to have to redo all that. But because Dexter and all that's coming out with these maintenance-free
I've heard about
axles,
those. Yeah.
There's no maintenance.
Nice.
There's really nothing you can do. But you need to watch them. And that's why I say, get a thermal gun. And I usually carry me a little pocket. Everybody's internet and all that stuff and iPhones and all that. I still like a piece of paper and a pencil. And I have a little notebook that I carry in my pocket, and I always have a pen in my pocket. And what I would do is get out my thermal gun out, and I would see what the temperature was on the hubs, because what you're looking for is that spike starting to increase. So anytime you get out of the RV for whatever reason, lunch break, or you got to walk around, or a funny sound in the back, then you want to, you're hunting for that spike.
Yeah.
But for the never lube axles, really, that's why they call them never lube. You don't have to do anything for them, but still you need to watch them because it's still mechanical. They can still, lose the grease. And that's called a clue in police work. When you start losing grease, that's a clue. That something has to be done. On our fifth wheel, it had the never lube axles. And I didn't really realize that. And I went into where I bought it at, and I said, "Hey, I need to check the axles." He goes, "They're never lube axles. Can't do anything about it." So
that's the one time you want to hear a mechanic say you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I didn't charge me anything. They'd probably find me something else to charge me for.
Oh, of course. All right. And so John has also asked, this is a great question, do you have, is there a website that you know of that will help rate RV repair shops beyond like just going to a discussion forum and looking for stuff?
I really don't know that, to be honest with you. And that's a very good question. Usually it's by word of mouth. There are some places that I wouldn't want to go to because of what I've heard. There are some ones that I like, but a lot of times, as you know, you pull into a campground, something's broke. And you call the RV company in that town. They say, "Well, can you bring it in 2 weeks?" And you end up calling a mobile repairman.
Okay, and so thank you, David. Looks like David's clarified a little bit. So he's talking about the axle seals. He happens to have the Easy Lube Dexter axles. Does that sound familiar?
It does.
He was told to do them about every 5 years, but do you have a different recommendation?
No. Again, you're going to have to go back what the manufacturer says on that part.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, so much for hanging in there today, and it's been awesome hopefully helping you answer some of your safety questions and your maintenance questions. I'm very appreciative to have Jim here. He has been, for me personally, he's provided a ton of information that has made me excited and also more informed about whenever we go to buy our RV, what kinds of things to look for, what to be prepared for on our own, even planning long-term expenses.
Yeah, do you realize there's 4 things you have to do when you buy an RV?
Yeah.
Are you ready for this? Number 1, you get to lay on the bed.
Yes.
Okay, you have to
Sit
lay
on the
bed.
toilet.
Sit on the toilet to make, because you're not comfortable, you're not going to do your business.
Yep.
Number 3 is you got to stand in the shower.
Yes.
And number 4 is
Sit in the driver's seat.
no. You should take a coat hanger with you, because you put the coat hanger in, and if you have to turn it like that, it's going to wrinkle your clothes. Because a lot of times they'll have enough room in the back, but you only have like 6 inches in the front, and the clothes get bound like that.
And of course, there's nobody in there who thinks about designing it so you can just put the pole in the middle of the closet instead of. Yeah.
Hey, I'm just saying.
RV manufacturers.
People who buy RV, people who sell and build RVs do not live in them.
For people who take advantage of overnight parking at places like Walmart and Cracker Barrel and that sort of thing. In theory, to be considerate, you aren't supposed to put your slides out. But if it's something like that where you can't even function, take care of basic human functions without putting your slides out, you've got a bit of a problem there.
It is. It's a big problem.
And then David's question is, does size matter?
Yes and no.
Good answer.
I always tell people, if you're going to buy a new RV, if you have that option to buy a new RV, you always get the biggest axles, the heaviest axles, and the biggest tires you can. You cannot go wrong, in all honesty.
And it sounds like the bigger the tire, the smoother your ride will be.
Well, the more weight you can carry, because you have to think, your car has 32 PSI in it. My big rig has 110 PSI. With 6 tires, you have 4 tires with 30. I can carry more stuff than what you can.
Mm-hmm.
So it all depends upon the application, what you want to do. That's why there's so many different RVs out there.
Yeah. And keep in mind too, when you're looking at tire size, where would an individual find the maximum tire size that their RV can use if they wanted to get a larger than what it came with?
Well, you're going to check with the manufacturers also, because what happens if you change, when we went to 16 and 17 average tires, we had to worry about, would the tires, when we put them on the hubs, would the tires hit each other? Mm-hmm. And they wouldn't. Would they raise the coach up too much so that you would stub your toe getting into the coach? Mm-hmm. Or as you turn a corner, would the tires rub?
Yes, I've actually heard that being an issue too.
And we've got pictures of shackles being turned, in all honesty. Shackles, they're supposed to set one direction, and they're set the other direction. And what they do is they move the tire in too close. And every time you turn around turn the corner, the tires rub. Mm-hmm. And we weighed a guy in somewhere in Tennessee, and when he had the shackles redone, and when they put him on backwards, put him upside down, literally. Oh my gosh! Literally, and it moves his whole axle in almost 6 inches, so the tires would rub anytime we went around the corner. It's unreal. It really was. But again, I forgot what we were talking about. CRS.
Yes, I was asking. Well, because David had asked if his came with bigger. 14, should he go bigger? And so I was trying to figure out some ways to find out how much bigger he could go if you wanted to.
Again, when you talk about bigger, you may be able to go to a bigger load size. Instead of maybe a D, you go up to an E or an F.
But it doesn't change the physical diameter. It may just change.
It may, it just change how much tire that air can go in that tire, and how much weight it can carry. But you have to check with the manufacturer on that. Like I say, we went to 16, 17 average tires, no problem. We have to worry about getting the proper hubs, the tires or the rims, so that you don't have to get bigger bolts for that. And that's something that we looked at. But again, yes, you can do that. We weighed one guy that had like L's on there, and he wanted to go up M's or N's or something like that because he wanted to carry more. He always carried. He had a 43-foot Monaco that carried full water. 120 gallons of water, a lot of weight.
That's heavy.
That's a lot of weight. Always propane full, because you never know when you need water. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, you go to, where do you camp at? We camp at campgrounds. Okay, have you ever been out of water? No. But what he wanted to do is, because he was pushing the limit of what his tires should carry, he wanted to go to bigger size tires. Because you have to worry about clearance in the wheel wells, everything like that. But due diligence, you can do that. You can. We've had a lot of people do that. Go to a bigger size tire. You just have to do the due diligence, make sure, one, that you're, you have the spacing for that, the hubs will fit on the bolts, and everything like that. So about all I can say about that. But email me if you need to.
Yes, at bootcamp@escapees.com.
Bootcamp@escapees.com.
Yes.
Think about getting a thermal gun. In all honesty, that's one of the best things. TPMS is a good thing too. Tire pressure monitoring system. It's a thermal gun. Firm believer that. But again, if you have any other questions, email me at bootcamp@escapees.com, and I'll be able to answer your questions a little bit more. And next time we do that, we'll see what happens.
And hopefully, I mean, I've enjoyed this. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed it as well, and hopefully it's not been too much torture for you. So we look forward to having a couple more sessions like this down the road. No pun intended.
But if you have any suggestions, you want to hear something like that, email Georgianne.
Yes.
Let us know, and we'll get on it and get back with you in about 3 years.
I'm faster than that. Thank you very much. I just ignore your emails.
Oh, okay. Now we know.
Resources@escapees.com. He's totally right. If you send me an email at resources@escapees.com, give me any kind of suggestions you have for future webinar topics. If you have someone in particular you have in mind that might be a great presenter to have, or if you're a great presenter and you want to talk about something. Yeah, I kind of roped him into this, but
if you have any questions on personal safety, because we do that, we can have a whole thing on personal safety.
Thank you guys so much for taking the time to spend with us today and for bringing your awesome questions and listening to us chat at each other like we do on a fairly regular basis. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Oh, before I forget, thank you, Jim.
Don't say it.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Oh, no, I won't do that to you.
Okay,
Not for all these people. I won't mention that it's your birthday today. Happy birthday, Jim. We'll cut that off the video, though, so you don't have to worry about watching it on YouTube forever.
It's another day of paradise. Another day in paradise. Hey, your tires want to go see America. Go play with us.
Yes. Yes. Sorry, it took me a second. What are you? Yes.
Yeah. Come to Escapade. Come to a hop. Come play with us. Come see America with us.
Tell John thank you for telling you happy birthday.
Oh, okay.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. And again, thank you for joining us. We will see you next time.
A little bit thicker shackle that work a lot better. There's a mouse in the back.
A noisy one that likes coffee, apparently.
But because working for escapees, when we go do what did I just do?
RV show.
This is called CRS. Can't remember stuff. So if you have CRS, you MSU, you make stuff up.
There you go.
But
so one of the things that you talked about earlier on when we were initially, like the kinds of things you find in accident reconstruction, what other, so we talked about speed, we've talked about tires, what other kinds of things, even in, let's say it's not a highway, I am not saying this very well. My apologies, guys. My brain is like, it's Friday.
I lost it.